the federal government exercises fiscal federalism is through mandates. The definition of a mandate is a federal order that is imposed upon the states. So it's something that the national government tells states that they must do. And often these mandates require resources in order to meet these standards. And so we will look at the impact of that. Examples of federal mandates include Americans with Disabilities Act, Clean Air Act, Clean Water Act, No Child Left Behind. And I would like you guys to come to our next class prepared with other examples of federal mandates that have been issued in relative recent time. The purpose of a mandate, so why would the federal government do this? It's so that there can be a federal standard set and require the states to meet this standard or this goal. So again, mandates are what allows the federal government to essentially tell the states what to do in order to achieve a standard. And again, they often do require resources. And so the impacts of mandates, there are several that we should look at. First of all, they can end up being a financial burden. There are funded and unfunded mandates. So sometimes the federal government will give money in addition to telling the states what to do. Sometimes the federal government might just tell states, hey, look, you have to do this in order to meet this standard. And the states are responsible for the fiscal side of that. And so often this can, again, create a financial burden for different states. Some states also do not like what they feel is heavy-handedness by the federal government. And this obviously is going to fall more in line with the decentralist approach, where states should have the right to exercise more power instead of the national government constantly having the authority over the states. And then also some states feel like this is a blackmail, because often with federal mandates, once the states are told what standard they need to meet, if they do not meet the standard, they often are punished. So for example, looking at the 2002 Act, No Child Left Behind, essentially what the federal government said was for public schools, if they failed to meet certain educational standards through standardized test scores and number of students per class, then the government was going to stop giving funds to those particular schools. So essentially, schools that had higher performing students were going to receive more money, and then schools that saw test scores that fell under the standard were actually going to lose funds. And so some of these mandates can end up being pretty controversial, because some might argue it's going to be difficult in certain areas to provide students the resources to perform better if those resources are constantly being diminished. So again, please come to class prepared with other examples of federal mandates. And then one quick last note here over in this text box. Generally speaking, Democrats or a centralist approach tend to favor mandates. And they tend to favor them because, again, it's keeping the power in the national government, and the national government then is giving power to the states. And then Republicans tend to generally oppose mandates, and they would like to decentralize the power and give more power to the individual states. And in the 1990s, as Congress shifted and seats were occupied by more and more Republicans in Congress over time have really tried to decrease the number of mandates issued by the federal government to the states.